The Dershow.
One of my best and oldest friends, who I've known since kindergarten, went to an interesting Seder on a Saturday night. He he and his wife and their daughter went to the Seder of the governor of Pennsylvania. They are related. My friend's daughter is married to the brother of the governor of Pennsylvania, and they were at the Seder. They were celebrating the Seder, and then they went to sleep. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know what happened. The state troopers banged on everybody's doors and told them they had to get out immediately. And there was a very serious fire right at the place where the Seder had taken place. In fact, there are photographs of burned holy books that were used for the Seder called Haggadah, which tells the story of the Exodus from Egypt. And those books were burned. So the arsonist, we now know who was suspected of being the arsonist. He apparently admitted it and turned himself in. So there doesn't seem to be any factual doubt. Went after the place where the Seder had just been conducted. And fortunately, nobody was there at the time, and nobody was hurt. The governor has 4 young children, and you can imagine that they were a little bit scared. They're woken up 2 a.m. and told, you got to get out of there as fast as you can. And I don't know. I reached my friend by email, but I have not spoken to him. It is still today the last day of the holy part of Passover, where Orthodox people don't answer the phone and don't talk on the phone. So I haven't had a chance to talk to my friend or his wife, but I got emails from them. What I don't know is whether they were where they were at the time of the fire. I just don't know the answer to that question. And I know they had a second Seder last night. I can imagine last night's Seder being a little more interesting than the Seder the night before. The Seder the night before was, a conventional Seder. Nobody had any idea what would happen in the next hours. Usually the Seder ends about midnight, and this happened at 2 in the morning. And then the next day there was a second Seder. So I don't know, and I don't know what the motive is behind the arson. But this guy's having the book thrown after him, obviously. He has been charged with, not indicted yet, but charged with arson, attempted murder. He apparently admitted that had he seen the governor, he had a hammer with him. He would have beaten him on the head with a hammer, the way Nancy Pelosi's husband was seriously injured by an intruder who was coming to get Nancy Pelosi. She was out of town, but he fell victim and he was hit on the head and very seriously injured. This guy said he would have done the same thing to Governor Shapiro. We don't know what the motive was. I mean, it gets divided into two. First, was the motive, did it have anything to do with Passover, with the Seder? Was it directed against Shapiro because he's Jewish? As you know, Shapiro is very openly Jewish. The reason he didn't get the nomination as vice president, which might conceivably, hypothetically, have turned the election around. After all, they lost Pennsylvania. The Democrats, if they had Shapiro on the ticket, they would have won Pennsylvania. But Kamala Harris didn't want to nominate Shapiro because he was Jewish and because he's a Zionist, a supporter of Israel, and openly Jewish. There are a lot of Jews, who you don't even know they're Jewish. But Shapiro, announced that he was going to have a Seder and put out photographs of the table set for the Seder. So the first question is, was the motive, did it have something to do with Shapiro being Jewish? It seems, based on what we know of the evidence, that the answer to that question is probably, not certainly, but probably yes. But even if the answer is yes, we still don't know whether came from right-wing anti-Semites or left-wing anti-Semites. There are enough of both of them. Trump went out of his way to say, well, the guy who did this didn't like Trump. I don't know where he gets that information, but he said it. And Dana Bash on CNN said, we don't know what his motive was, but we know he didn't like Biden. So already we're seeing suggestions of which side they don't like. I think Shapiro gets the best of the argument, and he says, doesn't matter whether you're an extreme right-wing anti-Semite and bigot or an extreme left-wing anti-Semite and bigot. It's not okay. It's wrong. My analysis has always been that there's more direct violence directed at individual Jews by the extreme right than by the extreme left, and much more violence directed at the Jewish people, Jewish institutions, Zionism, Israel, from the left. I've also said that the left is more dangerous than the right because although right-wing people do terrible things, shoot a synagogue up and maybe try to burn the governor, we don't know. Those are individuals, number one. And number two, that's law enforcement issue. What's going on the left is very different. It's pervasive. It reflects what's the future of our country. And so I think that anti-Semitism from the left is much, much more dangerous to America and to the Jewish community than anti-Semitism of the right. You wouldn't believe that if you, again, saw CNN. They had a program on extremism, but most of the extremism that they were talking about, obviously, came from the hated right, which they hate not from the beloved left, although they had a little bit of both. But by the way, in the prelims leading up to it, the only people they interviewed were people who talked about right-wing anti-Semitism. So, CNN continues its biased reporting, and it seems like it's inherent in everything CNN says. You just can't believe anything they say. They're so biased and so one-sided, and they confuse the news and opinion so starkly that I can't watch it. I mean, I flip and I just want to see how bad they are, and then I flip to other stations.